Thank you, Director, very much for coming. The budget request is how much percent over last year?
I don't have the percentage for you right now. I know that we didn't get quite what we had hoped for last year.
Mr. Chairman, what is that number? Do we know? Madam Chairman?
6%.
Okay. What's inflation?
Too high.
More than 6%?
I
think so.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
So what I want the American people to know is that the budget request for the FBI is below inflation. Do you agree with that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very well.
The budget request for the FBI is below inflation.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. After listening to you, and everything you say is legitimate concern, you have a lot to do. Do you think the committee should look at increasing your budget?
Well, first let me say I appreciate the question.
It's not a hard question.
I would say that any additional resources the committee would see fit to send our way, I can absolutely assure you and the rest of the subcommittee they will be put to good use.
Okay, great. I want to ask you to comment on ongoing investigation, but apparently there was an effort, some plot maybe to kill President Bush 43. Have you read about it? Are you familiar with it?
I am familiar with it.
Okay. Let's just make this comment. Is it fair to say that Al-Qaeda and ISIS still exist?
Absolutely.
Is it fair to say there are people thinking every day about how to get into America to kill a bunch of us from those organizations?
Yes.
And the FBI is integral in stopping those plots before they start?
Yes.
Okay. So would you say that after Afghanistan, the threat to the homeland has gone up or down?
Well, let me say this about the threat. We are concerned, very concerned, about what the threat landscape looks like in the wake of the withdrawal of Afghanistan for a number of reasons. One, we're concerned about the loss of sources and collection over there, which means...
There are no FBI agents in Afghanistan.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Or at least not that I can...
Yeah, well, I hope they're not for their sake. Yeah.
So we're concerned about less source coverage over time, and I think Director Burns has testified, just as a matter of fact, that we will lose collection.
Just put a fine point on it, because I don't have much time. Our withdrawal has made us a lot less aware of the threat coming from Afghanistan than before we withdrew. That's a fair statement, right?
I think so, yes.
And it's a fair statement that Al-Qaeda and ISIS still are present in Afghanistan, and maybe their influence is growing.
Certainly present, and I think we are concerned about them growing, yes.
Okay. So let's look at domestic terrorism. Is there any law that you need that you don't have when it comes to investigating domestic terrorism?
Well, we always welcome more tools in the toolbox, but we, I think, have been very effective with the tools that we do have, okay. Not just federal charges, but as I said to Senator Braun, using state charges when appropriate. We've gotten creative in using hate crime charges and things like that as well. What we really need are more resources more than anything
well,
else.
Count me in for more resources to help you deal with this threat as well as other threats. Gun control. Do you know of any system? Apparently the fact pattern is, as we understand it now, that the person in Texas who did this horrible thing had no criminal record. How would the system deal with somebody who's never been charged with a crime, never been investigated for a crime, went out and bought a gun? What kind of law would stop that?
Well, we don't know all the facts yet.
Yeah, but let's just assume that fact pattern.
But there are, depending on the individual, there are other prohibitors in 922.
Well, here's the point. If there's something we can do to deal with this particular situation that we're not doing, can you get back with us?
I'd be happy to work with the committee.
Okay,
I think there's no one single answer to
okay,
all
well,
of this.
I'm open-minded to ideas. So finally, from the FBI's point of view, you've been following the Sussmann trial, I would assume?
Yes.
Okay, well, he's in trial. But let me just ask you this question. A lot of Americans are concerned with the fact that a campaign lawyer for the Clinton campaign could go to the FBI and provide information to the FBI that led to an investigation of the opposite party, and it seems to not have held much water. Can you understand why people would be concerned about that?
I certainly understand why people are concerned.
And the Horowitz review of the Crossfire Hurricane, you're familiar with his findings, the Inspector General.
Yes.
This is your chance to tell the American people that you're going to make sure that never happens again, and you're dedicated to making sure that, for whatever reason, there are no more Carter Pages investigations that seem to have gotten completely off the rails.
So I will put the Sussmann case to the side for the moment because I don't want to comment on a case that's in front of the jury right now. But let me say this. What the conduct that is described in the Inspector General's report, I consider to be utterly unacceptable and also unrepresentative of the FBI that I see every day. And my firm instructions to our people are that we need to make sure that that never happens again. And we have implemented over 40 corrective measures that go directly to the things that are described in that report. We've made changes of the entire leadership team in the FBI. And the FBI that I see today in 2022 is very different from what's described in that report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Graham. I have another round of